Have you ever noticed how he only realizes your worth when you're no longer there? How the moment you stop calling, stop chasing, stop proving, something shifts. Suddenly, he's paying attention. Suddenly, he's checking his phone, searching for a message that will never come. He didn't appreciate your presence, but now your absence is teaching him the hardest lesson of his life. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight." But here's what he never expected. The loss of you is not just a change. It's a revelation, a lesson he never wanted to learn, but one he will never forget. He thought you would always be there. He believed he could take you for granted, that no matter what he did, you would still fight for him. But that illusion is over. Because now you are done proving, done waiting, done giving your love away like it's free. He will feel this loss in ways he never imagined. It won't hit all at once. It will creep in slowly, like a shadow stretching longer with the setting sun. At first, he might not notice. He might assume you're just giving him space, that you'll be back, just like before. But as the days pass, as your silence lingers, as he realizes that you are truly gone, the weight of his choices will crash down on him like a storm he never saw coming. Think of a flame. It doesn't beg for oxygen, it simply burns. But take away the air, and the fire gasps, flickers, fights to stay alive. That is exactly what will happen to him. You were the warmth, the spark, the undeniable energy in his life. But he never noticed, until now. Now, in your absence, he will feel the cold. He will struggle to understand what changed, why everything feels emptier, why nothing seems as bright as it once did. And by the time he realizes, you will already be rising into the woman you were always meant to be. You have already given too much. You have explained yourself, defended yourself, lowered yourself just to be seen, just to be understood. But where did that leave you? Exhausted, heartbroken, questioning your own worth. But hear this now. You were never the problem. You were never too much. You were never asking for too much. You were simply asking the wrong man to appreciate what he was never strong enough to hold. And now the tables turn. Because when a queen stops begging to be chosen, she becomes the only choice that matters. This is the moment he realizes that you were never just an option. You were the crown, the throne, the kingdom. And he lost you. Not because you weren't enough, but because he wasn't wise enough to see what was right in front of him. Imagine a diamond buried deep in the earth. For years, it waits, unseen, unappreciated, untouched. But when it is finally discovered, when the world sees its brilliance, its worth is undeniable. That is you. You do not need to beg to be valued. You do not need to scream for recognition. Your worth is not up for debate. You simply exist in your power, and those who are wise enough will recognize it. So let him feel it. Let him sit with the silence. Let him replay every conversation, every moment, every time he brushed you aside. Let him wake up in the middle of the night, reaching for a presence that is no longer there. And when he finally understands what he lost, when he finally realizes that no other woman will ever match what you gave so freely, it will be too late. Because by then, you will no longer be waiting for him to see your worth. You will already be living in it. And this is where you rise. Not as the woman who was left behind, but as the woman who walked away with her power intact. You're not his lesson to learn. You're the one thing he will regret losing for the rest of his life. And that is his burden to carry, not yours. Queens, write this affirmation in the comments and claim it. Losing me will be the hardest lesson he ever learns. Let it be your truth. Let it be your fire. Let it be the moment you finally step into the power that was always yours. And if this message spoke to you, if it reminded you of the strength you've always had, then take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are here, working hard to bring you life-changing lessons because you were never meant to beg, you were meant to reign. Number 1. The absence of a diamond is felt more than the presence of a pebble. Have you ever seen a man ignore a diamond while chasing after pebbles? He overlooks the rarest thing in his life, assuming it will always be there, until one day it's gone. And then, suddenly every cheap rock he picked up along the way means nothing, because now he understands. A diamond is only truly valued when it's no longer within reach. He thought he had time. He thought you would always be there, always waiting, always proving your love. He took your presence for granted because you never made him question it. He believed he could neglect you, half love you, give you the bare minimum, and still keep you close. But now he feels the absence. Now he understands that what he once dismissed as ordinary was actually irreplaceable. Marcus Aurelius once said, "What is truly beautiful needs nothing extra to prove its worth." And yet, here you were, constantly proving, constantly trying, constantly reminding him of your value, when in reality, a woman like you should never have to beg to be seen. Your worth was always there. He was just too blind to recognize it. Think of the rarest gems in the world. They do not scream for attention. They do not lower their worth just to be picked up by hands that do not understand their value. A diamond does not chase. It is sought after. It does not beg. It is placed on pedestals. But what happens when a man does not cherish what he holds? What happens when he treats a diamond like just another stone? He loses it. And once it's gone, there is no replacing it. That is exactly what is happening to him now. He thought he could trade you for something easier, something cheaper, something that didn't require effort. But now he is realizing nothing compares to what he lost. He is searching for you in every woman he meets, but he will never find another you. Because you were not just an option, you were the standard. He thought he could do better, that he could walk away without consequences. But the moment you stopped fighting, the moment you let go, the moment you chose yourself instead of him, everything changed. Now the silence is deafening. Now the void is undeniable. Now, for the first time, he understands. He had a diamond, and he let it slip through his fingers. Queens, listen to me. You were never meant to be a choice, because you are the prize. A man who fails to see your worth while he has you will regret it the moment he realizes you are no longer his to claim. And by then, it will be too late. This is the moment you step into your power. This is the moment you stop proving, stop explaining, stop waiting. You are done making excuses for a man who could not recognize your brilliance. Because the truth is, the right man will never need to lose you to appreciate you. The right man will never put you in a position where you have to question your worth. He will miss you. He will regret it. He will wonder how he let the best thing in his life slip away. But you won't look back, because you have finally realized you were never missing something. He was. So let him feel the loss. Let him sit with the regret. Let him understand in his own time that nothing he chases now will ever shine the way you did. And when that moment comes, you will already be standing in your power, untouchable, unshaken, and more radiant than ever. Queens, write this affirmation in the comments and claim it. He lost a diamond while chasing pebbles, and now he will never find another me. And if this message reminded you of your strength, if it woke something inside you, take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are here, working hard to bring you life-changing lessons, because you were never meant to beg, you were meant to reign. Number 2. He was comfortable in your light, until the darkness taught him what he lost. Have you ever noticed how he only realizes your worth when you're no longer there? When he was surrounded by your love, your kindness, your unwavering presence, he barely noticed. He thought the warmth you gave would never fade. He took your light for granted. But now, in the emptiness, in the silence, in the absence of everything he never appreciated, he finally understands. Seneca once said, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." But what he never thought about was this: sometimes leaving is the greatest act of courage. Walking away from a love that wasn't reciprocated, choosing yourself after giving everything, deciding that you will no longer be the one carrying the weight of the relationship alone, that takes strength. And now he is left to sit in the darkness he created. He was comfortable in your light. He bathed in it, used it to guide his way, relied on it without ever questioning where it came from. He never once thought about what would happen if it disappeared. But now, with you gone, he stands in a world that feels colder, darker, emptier. He looks around and suddenly realizes he was never the source of the glow. It was always you. Think of the moon. It shines beautifully in the night sky, lighting up the darkness, admired by all. But here's the truth. The moon has no light of its own. It only reflects the sun. Without the sun, the moon is nothing but a shadow. That was him. He was shining. He was confident. He was sure of himself, but only because he was reflecting the light you gave. Now that you're gone, he is left in the dark, scrambling to find something, anything, to replace what he once had. But he won't find it. Because there is no replacement for a woman who loved like you did. At first, he might not feel it. He might even think you're just trying to prove a point, that you'll come back like you always do. But time has a way of revealing the truth. And with every passing day, the lesson gets harder, the loss gets heavier, the regret gets louder. He will start to notice the silence. He will replay your words, the ones he brushed off so easily before. He will crave your presence, the comfort of knowing you were always there. But now he faces the one thing he never prepared for, a life without you in it. But this is where everything changes, not for him, but for you, because you are no longer the woman waiting in the shadows, hoping he will see your worth. You are the sun. You do not beg to be seen. You do not chase. You do not lower your light for anyone who could not handle its brilliance. You rise. And those who recognize your value will step into your world with reverence. He will try to reach out. He will try to find a way back. But here's the question. Why would a queen lower her crown for a man who never knew how to honor it? He had his chance. He had the warmth, the love, the devotion. He let it slip through his fingers. And now he will live with that reality. This is your moment. The moment where you stop doubting, stop questioning, stop waiting for him to realize what he lost. Because the truth is, he already knows. And his regret is not your responsibility. Queens, write this affirmation in the comments and claim your power. He was comfortable in my light. Now let him learn to live in the dark. Let this be your truth. Let this be the fire that reminds you of who you are. Let this be the moment you finally understand that you were never just an option. You were the light, the warmth, the force that made everything brighter. And now you shine for yourself. And queens, if this message awakened something inside you, if it reminded you of the power you have always had, then take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are here, working hard to bring you life-changing lessons, because you were never meant to beg. You were meant to reign. Number 3. The loudest sound. He'll ever hear is the echo of your silence. Have you ever noticed how silence can be louder than words? How the absence of a voice can echo longer than 1,000 conversations? At first, he won't notice it. He'll assume you're just busy, giving him space, waiting for the right moment to reach out. But as time passes, as your name no longer lights up his phone, as he sits alone in the silence he once ignored, that's when it will hit him. That's when the loudest sound he'll ever hear will be the echo of your silence. Seneca once said, "Silence is a lesson learned through the storms of life." And this is the storm he never saw coming. He believed he could take you for granted, that your love was endless, that no matter how many times he ignored your efforts, you would still be there. But now he is left with nothing but the emptiness where your presence used to be. And nothing haunts a man more than the silence of a woman who once gave him everything. At first, he will pretend it doesn't bother him. He will scroll past old messages without opening them, convincing himself that he doesn't need to check in. He will go about his days as if nothing has changed. But at night, when the world is quiet, when the distractions fade, when he's lying alone in bed staring at the ceiling, that's when your silence will scream the loudest. He will replay every moment in his mind, every time he dismissed you, every time he took too long to reply, every time he assumed you would always be there. But now, you are not. And the weight of that realization, it will break him in ways he never imagined. Think of an empty room after a storm. Before, it was filled with sound, the rush of the wind, the beating of the rain, the crack of thunder shaking the walls. But once the storm has passed, once everything is still, the silence that follows is even more powerful. That is what your absence is doing to him now. When you were there, he never listened. But now that you're gone, now that there is nothing left but the space where you used to be, he hears everything. He thought your love was a given. He thought he could neglect it, ignore it, delay it, and you would still come running back. But now he's learning the hardest lesson of all. Love is not a guarantee. Presence is not a promise. A woman's patience is not endless. And when a woman stops talking, when she stops explaining, when she stops trying to fix what he kept breaking, that is when he realizes he has lost her forever. And now, this is where you rise, not as the woman who begged to be seen, but as the woman who chose herself instead. You are no longer the woman waiting by the phone. You are no longer the woman analyzing every silence, wondering if he cares. Because now you understand that your silence is power. Your absence is a lesson. Your worth does not need to be explained. It needs to be recognized. And if he couldn't see it when you were right in front of him, then he will feel it now, in every empty moment that your silence leaves behind. Queens, this is your moment. The moment you stop waiting, stop wondering, stop handing your power to a man who never knew what to do with it. He is learning now, too late, too painfully, too deeply. But that is his burden to carry, not yours. Your job is not to teach him your worth. Your job is to embody it. Write this affirmation in the comments and claim your power. My silence will be the loudest lesson he ever learns. Let it be your truth. Let it be your fire. And queens, if this message reminded you of the strength you have always had, then take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are here, working hard to bring you life-changing lessons, because you were never meant to beg. You were meant to reign. Number 4. He never feared losing you until you gave him nothing left to lose. Have you ever noticed how he never worried about losing you until you finally stopped trying? How he was so sure that no matter what he did, no matter how much he neglected you, you would still be there. He was comfortable, unbothered, believing that you would always come back, always forgive, always fight for something he took for granted. But now the silence is deafening. Now the absence is unbearable. Now he's learning the hardest lesson of his life, because you gave him nothing left to lose. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The closer a man is to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." But here's what he never realized. Your silence, your absence, your refusal to fight for him anymore is the strongest thing you have ever done. Because when a woman who once gave her everything chooses to walk away, that is when she becomes unstoppable. And that is when he finally understands that losing you was never just an option. It was his biggest mistake. At first, he didn't notice. He assumed you were just upset, that you would cool down and come back, just like before. He thought you would break, that your love for him would be stronger than your self-respect. But the days passed. The messages stopped. The calls never came. And now? Now he feels it. Now he understands that you weren't just giving him space. You were giving yourself freedom, and that freedom is something he will never be able to take from you again. Think of a garden, a beautiful, thriving garden that blooms under the hands of someone who cares for it. But what happens when it is neglected? When it is ignored, unwatered, forgotten? The flowers do not wait. They do not beg for attention. They simply stop blooming where they are not nourished, and they take their beauty elsewhere. You were that garden. You poured love, time, and energy into something that was left to wither. But instead of waiting, instead of hoping for rain in a drought, you chose to take your beauty where it would be cherished. And now he stands in the ruins of what he never cared to protect, realizing too late that he is the one left with nothing. He never feared losing you because he thought you would always be there. He never imagined a world where you would stop trying. But when you finally did, when you decided that you deserved better, everything changed. He expected your patience, your forgiveness, your loyalty, but what he never expected was your strength. And now that you have stepped into it, he is powerless. He is left searching, wondering, regretting, because the moment you stopped giving, he lost the only thing that ever truly mattered. And this is where you rise. This is where you take back everything you once gave so freely. No more waiting, no more over-explaining, no more proving your worth to a man who was too blind to see it. This is your moment, the moment you reclaim your time, your energy, your love, not for him, but for yourself. Because you were never meant to be an option. You were never meant to be someone's afterthought. You were meant to be the prize, the crown, the throne. And now you sit in your power untouchable. Let him feel it. Let him wonder. Let him regret. But do not look back. Because, Queen, you are not the woman who waits. You are not the woman who begs. You are the woman who walks away with her head held high, knowing that the right man will never make you question your worth. Write this affirmation in the comments and claim it. He never feared losing me until I gave him nothing left to lose. Let it be your truth. Let it be your power. Let it be the lesson that sets you free. And queens, if this message woke something inside you, if it reminded you of the strength you have always had, then take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are here, working hard to bring you life-changing lessons because you were never meant to beg. You were meant to reign. Number 5. You were the fire, and he thought he could stand in the cold forever. Have you ever watched a fire burn? Wild, powerful, unstoppable. It does not chase the air that feeds it. It does not beg for someone to notice its warmth. It simply exists, fierce and radiant. And those who stand too close, they either cherish its heat or take it for granted. But the moment that fire pulls back, the moment the warmth is gone, the cold becomes unbearable. That is exactly what he's feeling now. He thought he could stand in the cold forever. He thought he could pull away, ignore your love, take your presence for granted, and you would still be there, burning for him. But now he is shivering in the emptiness he created. And the hardest lesson he'll ever learn is that nothing is colder than the absence of a woman who once loved him with fire. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." And he wasted his time assuming you would never leave. He wasted the warmth you gave, thinking he could always return when he pleased. But love is not an open flame waiting for the undeserving to come back. It burns only for those who know its worth. At first, he won't feel it. He will believe you're just upset, that you'll come back, just like before. But as time passes, as the silence stretches, he will feel the shift. The warmth he never noticed. It's gone. The fire he ignored. It no longer burns for him. He will try to replace it, to find another light, another warmth, but nothing will feel the same. Because the truth is, you were never just another fire. You were the sun, and now he is lost in the darkness. You gave him your best. You stood by him, lifted him, poured your energy into him. But all he did was stand in your glow without ever appreciating what it meant. He thought the fire would never leave. He thought he could stand in the cold, that he didn't need your warmth. But now he's learning. The cold isn't just lonely, it's suffocating. Imagine a candle in a dark room. It flickers, steady and strong, lighting up everything around it. But when the flame is blown out, the darkness creeps in, swallowing the space that was once filled with light. That is what he feels now, the unbearable absence of the warmth he never truly valued. But here's the truth, Queen. This is not about him. This is about you. You were never meant to be a source of warmth for someone who refused to cherish it. You were never meant to burn yourself out just to keep him comfortable. You're not a candle. You're a wildfire, untamed and free. And now, instead of waiting for him to see your worth, you rise, you reign, you burn for yourself. Enough waiting. Enough wondering if he will wake up and realize what he lost. He will. But by the time he does, you will have already become something greater. A woman who knows her worth, who burns only for those who deserve her, who no longer wastes her fire on the undeserving. And when he looks back, when he finally understands that nothing in his life will ever match the warmth you gave so freely, it will be too late. Because you will never set yourself on fire for a man who was willing to watch you burn. Queens, write this affirmation in the comments and claim your power. I was the fire. He thought he could stand in the cold forever. Let it be your truth. Let it be your strength. Let it be the lesson he never forgets. And if this message spoke to you, if it reminded you of the power you have always had, then take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are here, working hard to bring you life-changing lessons, because you were never meant to beg, you were meant to reign. Number 6. He called it space. You called it closure. He told you he needed space. He made it sound temporary, like it was just a moment to clear his head, to figure things out. Maybe he even promised that it wasn't about you, that he just needed time. And so, you gave it to him. You stepped back. You waited. You hoped. But here's what he never saw coming. You weren't just giving him space. You were giving yourself closure. Never beg for a seat at a table when you were meant to build your own. That is the truth he never expected. He thought space was a pause, a break, a way to keep you waiting in the background while he decided what he wanted. But you used that silence to reclaim your power, to see things clearly, to realize that the love you were waiting for was never going to be found in the heart of a man who needed space just to see your worth. At first, he won't notice. He will assume you're still there, just out of sight, still waiting. He will think you're checking your phone, wondering when he'll come back. But time will pass, and your silence will grow louder. And then it will hit him like a storm he never saw coming. He called it space because he wanted control. He wanted the comfort of knowing he could pull away, but you would still be there when he was ready. He wanted to explore, to detach, to do whatever he pleased without losing you completely. But he miscalculated, because what he failed to understand is that the second a woman stops waiting, she doesn't pause, she moves forward. Imagine a bridge between two mountains. For the longest time you stood on one side, holding the ropes, keeping the connection strong, making sure there was always a way back. But the moment he asked for space, you let go. And now the bridge is gone. He may want to return, but there is nothing left to cross. That is the lesson that will haunt him. He didn't just lose you, he lost access to you. He will feel it on quiet nights when his phone stays dark. He will feel it when he reaches for you and finds nothing but the emptiness he created. He will feel it when he starts to wonder if you've moved on, if you've forgotten him, if another man now holds the heart he took for granted. And when he finally realizes that he pushed you too far, when he tries to come back, he will learn the hardest lesson of his life. You are no longer his to return to, because you are not the woman who waits. You are not the woman who lingers in the shadows of maybe and someday. You gave enough, tried enough, loved enough. And now you rise. Not as the woman who begged for his love, but as the woman who walked away with her dignity intact. The woman who no longer asks to be chosen because she has already chosen herself. A queen does not wait for a man to decide if she is worthy of his love. She does not shrink herself, hoping he will see her value. She steps into her power, knowing that the right one will never need space to recognize what he has. And now, he's left with nothing but regret. He thought space would keep you close. But space did not make you desperate. It made you disappear. And nothing shakes a man more than realizing the woman he thought would always be there is now untouchable. Queens, write this affirmation in the comments and claim it. He called it space. I called it closure. Let him learn the lesson. Let him feel the loss. Let him sit with the silence he created, while you step into the life you were always meant to live. And queens, if this message awakened something in you, if it reminded you of the power you've always had, take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are here, working hard to bring you life-changing lessons, because you were never meant to beg. You were meant to reign. Number 7. The queen does not mourn the pawn. She leaves behind. Have you ever noticed how easily he walked away, thinking you would always be there? How he assumed he could leave and return whenever it suited him? He believed your love was something he could take for granted. That no matter how many times he disappointed you, you would always forgive, always wait, always be ready to take him back. But now he is learning the hardest lesson of his life. You are no longer standing at the door he once left open. You are gone, and this time you are not looking back. Seneca once said, "A wise man is content with his lot, whatever it may be, without wishing for what he has not." But he was never content. He always thought there would be something better, something easier, something more exciting. He played his games, thinking he had control, thinking you would never have the strength to leave. But here's the truth. He was never the king in this story. He was only a pawn, and a queen does not mourn the pieces she leaves behind. You spent so much time trying to be enough for him, trying to show him your worth, hoping he would finally open his eyes and see what he had in front of him. But what did that bring you? Sleepless nights, self-doubt, that aching feeling in your chest every time he made you question if you were truly important to him. And now you see it clearly. It wasn't that you weren't enough, it was that he was never capable of recognizing a woman of your worth. Think of a chessboard. The queen is the most powerful piece, able to move freely, to command the game, to control the entire board. And the pawn, it is weak. It moves slowly, cautiously, waiting for permission to advance. That was him. He moved only when it was safe, only when it benefited him, only when he knew you were still waiting. But you were never meant to be stuck in place, waiting for a man who didn't know how to lead. And now, as you step away, he will finally understand. He was never the king he thought he was. He was just another piece left behind. At first, he won't understand. He will assume you are just trying to teach him a lesson, that you will come back like you always did. But as time passes, as your silence grows louder, as he realizes that the woman who once gave him everything is no longer reachable, the weight of his loss will crush him. He will see you moving forward, shining, thriving without him, and he will feel the sting of regret. He will wonder how he let you go. He will question why he didn't fight harder, love deeper, appreciate you when he had the chance. But by then, you will be too far ahead to turn back. You are no longer the woman who waits. You are no longer the woman who accepts less than she deserves. You are stepping into the woman you were always meant to be, a woman who does not beg, who does not plead, who does not mourn the past. You are a queen, and a queen does not grieve for a pawn. Look at yourself now, stronger, wiser, fiercer than you have ever been. He left? Good. Now nothing is holding you back. He thought he had the power, but in reality, it was always yours to claim. The time for tears is over. Now is the time for triumph. Every moment of pain, every ounce of heartbreak, every time he made you feel small, you are turning it all into power. You are not just surviving this, you are conquering it. Queens, write this affirmation in the comments and claim your power. A queen does not mourn the pawn she leaves behind. Let it be your truth. Let it be your strength. Let it be the moment you finally step into the power that was always yours. And if this message awakened something inside you, if it reminded you of the strength you have always had, then take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are here, working hard to bring you life-changing lessons, because you were never meant to beg. You were meant to reign. Number 8. He didn't just lose you. He lost the version of himself that you believed. Have you ever wondered why he only realizes your worth when you're gone? Why the moment you walk away, he starts questioning everything? It's not just about missing you. It's about missing the man he was when he had you by his side. Because he didn't just lose you, he lost the version of himself that you believed in. And that is a lesson that will haunt him far more than your absence ever will. Marcus Aurelius once said, "A man's worth is no greater than his ambitions." And here's the truth. His ambition faded because he knew you would always be there. You were the one who saw his potential when he didn't. You believed in him when he doubted himself. You stood beside him, lifted him, reminded him that he was capable of more. But what did he do with that? He took it for granted. He mistook your love for weakness, your patience for permission, your presence for something that would never leave. Now, with you gone, he must face the reflection of the man he became without you. At first, he won't understand. He'll assume it's just space, that you'll return like you always did. But as time passes, as the silence lingers, he will feel it. The absence of your belief in him, the loss of the woman who saw his worth even when he couldn't. And that will break him in ways he never saw coming. Because no matter who he meets next, no matter where he goes, he will never again be the man he was when he was loved by you. Think of a mirror. When you stood beside him, you held up a reflection of the best version of himself. You encouraged him, inspired him, pushed him to rise. But now he is left to face his own reflection without your light softening the edges. And what does he see? A man who let go of something rare. A man who lost not just a relationship, but the version of himself that only existed because you were there to bring it out. You spent so much time believing in him, but now it's time to believe in yourself, because you were never just an accessory to his life. You were the architect of your own destiny. He walked away, or maybe you did, but either way the result is the same. He must now navigate life without the strength you once gave him, and that is a burden far heavier than regret. Queens, hear this. You did not lose him. He lost you. And more than that, he lost the future he could have had if only he had valued you while he had the chance. You don't need to shrink, to chase, to explain. You're not his teacher, his guide, or his second chance. You're the woman who walks away knowing that her worth was never meant to be questioned. And now you rise. Not as the woman who was left behind, not as the woman who waited for him to wake up, but as the woman who finally sees herself the way she always saw him, full of power, potential, and unstoppable greatness. The lesson he is learning now, that when a woman like you leaves, she doesn't return. Let him sit with that. Let him wonder. Let him realize that no other woman will ever look at him the way you did, because no one else will ever see him through the same lens of love and belief. And when he finally understands what he lost, it will be too late. Queens, write this affirmation in the comments and claim your power. He didn't just lose me, he lost the best version of himself. Let it be your truth. Let it be your fire. And if this message awakened something inside you, if it reminded you of the power you've always had, take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are here, working hard to bring you life-changing lessons, because you were never meant to beg, you were meant to reign.